put into the stream for YouTube things. So, but yeah, I guess kind of welcome. Thanks for coming. I will not claim to be an expert at this game. Heck, like I think I'm probably diamond tank at best. I do shot call for World One and try my best to help others learn. But hopefully by the end of the session, I can convince you or help you reconsider banning Dragon Shire every time it comes up in NGS or any other type of environment. So, um, but yeah, anything particular, Crush, that you had? I said you were kind of the first one I saw sign up for this. Is there something specific you'd like to make sure that gets covered throughout this tutorial?
I mean, nothing specific. It's a map that we've been working on for a while as a team.
Oh,
But,
cool.
we tried it as a 1-3-1, we've tried it as a 1-1-3,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
I see so many different ways that people play this, and I'm just interested in your take on the map in general and what you tend to see.
Totally. Yeah, we'll definitely cover some of the, I'll call it just the different lane arrangements that are there, as well as potentially um, trying to hopefully, like, I know every map is supposed to be, fluid. It's not really supposed to be set in stone, like, this person sits in this lane and never leaves. Like, for some reason, we have these really weird concepts of how you win the game. So, definitely, I'll kind of speak to that, because, like, I think you can pick the same five heroes and you could do a 4-1, a 1-1-3, a 1-1-1-2. Like there's so many different things you can do on this map, and it comes down to just what exactly makes sense or what feels best. So starting off at the beginning here, I cannot once again credit to. I want to give credit where credit's due. A lot of stuff has been either stolen or parroted with some influence from the Nexus Schoolhouse, Not Paradox, and several other amazing content creators and coaches. I truly am not a Grandmaster player or anything. These are just my thoughts on why I love the map, and hopefully will put a new perspective for you guys as well. So, coming in, like, I think big picture, when you say, why do you want Dragon Shire? Why does everyone ban Dragon Shire against Roll One Esports? I honestly think it's a great map. It's a great map that shows the strengths and weaknesses of your team. Because specifically, your team needs to be able to communicate. And if your team is lacking in, whether it be rotations, whether it be point control, whether it be, leaving to catch soak, to get camps, vision, communication is huge. And something that I feel like I do a great job of within our team dynamic is making sure that we have an idea of where we're going, what we're doing, what we're looking for, and that helps to make Dragonshire a little bit more cohesive. I can definitely understand. I know Crin jokingly asked in the Dev Day questions, say it's like, what exactly do you do, especially rotations and strats versus quick match shenanigans? And I would still say the same thing. Make sure you're soaking and doing wave clear, even if you can't necessarily communicate or talk well to your team about, hey, delay the point for 2 seconds. I can say it's like I say I'm about to cap or whatever it may be. I also feel like Dragonshire is great because there's a lot of playmaking potential, especially in the offlaner, and that and other jobs and things can be completed. So I particularly have a great offlaner on my team, and I love being able to give him a matchup where he feels it's favorable, where he can counter things or he can do things that are amazing. And so there's a lot of playmaking abilities on this map, and the objective is actually fairly balanced. It's not like Volskaya where you win the objective and you cry, and it's not BOE where the objective is so strong it doesn't matter how well you've done anything else, it just wins you the game. So I feel like it's a pretty balanced map. Um, Crediting Mr. Cavalier guest here, I stole this paragraph because I was just going to regurgitate it anyway. He talked about if you looked back during HEC, every top team in the region was unbeaten or had a very high win rate on Dragonshire throughout the tournament. And the best teams did that because they had great decision making. And they also, he notes that rotations are key to this map. And I underlined that one part from his quote of just, it's about being at the right time, at the right place, and having the right people there. Because you don't always make the best decisions. You can't be 100%. But I will tell you that if you are able to be at the right time, at the right place, so it's like you're able to catch soak and hopefully get those small advantages to make something better. So I love that. And if there's anything you can take away, hopefully that helps you understand the map a little bit more. Just some quick basics and map breakdown. Obviously, since wave clear and the things we're talking about are so important, just making sure that you do catch those first 4 waves. As you go through and review, the first 4 waves are going to establish the tempo of almost the entire game. Whether it be people running off to do camps, whether it be looking for ganks, whether it be looking to disrupt rotations in the bushes there. So make sure you catch your waves and don't miss soak. People talk about, what exactly is the most important lane? What are we covering? You see a lot of people priority pick off laners, specifically the top lane one. But truly, the most important lane is your bottom lane. And, the reason some of the high prioritization is given to the offlaners in the top, like Rexar or Hogger, is because they're able to hold their lane, clear waves well, and do a lot of other things. And so being able to secure something that's very strong in those positions enables your team to do other things. But the most important thing you want to be shooting for is knocking down that bottom fort. And as soon as that fort's down, you have 3 camps that are available to be able to rotate and push through that bottom lane. There's a total of 5 camps on the map. Each side has 1 hard, 1 easy, and there's a neutral one at the bottom. And one of the things that's fun about Dragon Shire is taking what time you want to take those camps or how you want to take those camps can actually flux and change based on your team's composition and the decisions that you want to make. It's like I've seen a couple cheat sheets around where it's like, okay, at 1 minute you always grab easy, and then at 1 minute 20 you always grab hard, and then you rotate, and once you get the dragon, you go 4 bottom, push with the dragon, and hopefully you get the building, and if you do 5-man, take the bottom camp. Well, that's a cool plan and a cool script, but it probably won't work all the time, as well as it won't give you what you need. So another term I may use throughout this is the triangle of death. It's pretty common, but it's that triangle of bushes that connect the mid and top bottom lane. Just in case you've never seen it referenced like that, it's this here. So it's like that's all you need to know for that one is as we look at the lanes and go through stuff. So before we go too far into Dragon Shire, a few people have joined. Ah, crap. Cav's going to realize that I plagiarized all of his stuff now that he's here. But just any other first thoughts or questions or things that you guys would like to have covered going through this? I got kind of Crush's things, and I see a few here from Kryn. But is there anything specifically you want to cover so that way I make sure to hit what you guys are looking for besides just the basics of the map and some common ideas?
So the Triangle of Death, what sort are there particular comps or styles that are meant to take advantage of that? Or is it generally just a place you don't want to mess around in regardless?
That's a great question. If you if you watch our poor crap, where's my hotkey for that? Isn't it just B? Yeah. So there's definitely a ton of compositions and things where you can take advantage of this, and you want to be looking to do that if your team specifically is going for picks. I know of some of the common compositions you'll look for is people will talk about running a 4-1 where they take their 4 heroes that they want and they will put them down there. So like, and last night, I said can't counterpick stupid ran Varian 4-man comp where they had the Varian, Tyrande, Jaina, and I don't know, something else. It wasn't that important. But they essentially, after level 4, this Varian composition wants to look for a pick. And so if Varian and friends can control this triangle, say it's like Jaina's come down here, she clears the wave, say it's like, and now as she's coming up to do that, let's do red. So it's like, says that the waves have crashed and they've cleared it, and now that this is clear, hypothetically, this group of people can be off the map showing, not showing. And so they can be looking to do camps, they can be looking to just hold here and watch for rotations. They can look to invade. It's like the big thing is that if you specifically are building your composition around aggressive team fighting and picks, you definitely want to be the one that's trying to control the triangle the most. And having Tyrande obviously can help you as far as catching vision and checking it. But just in general, a lot of tanks and other whatever position you filled in your draft tools to hold the map need to be looking to hold on to this. So in the game that we were playing last night, I was Muradin, and so I did my best to try and hold the wow, I can't spell. It's like I was Muradin, was doing my best to just hold. So I'm like, I know that I'm not fighting in this lane ever. So it's like, but I am trying to make sure that Varian and friends don't rotate in to try and invade our camp. So it's like, so just being able to hold one of the angles can be sufficient to do what you need to do. But your goal would be to hold vision everywhere, so that way you know when this gank squad of people are rotating out of bottom. Say it's like, hopefully you have an anchor or somebody that's bottom to be able to tell you, hey, they're rotating, or hey, they're missing. So say if you did something maybe slightly unconventional and you put Rexar bottom and you had Sonya top or whatever. So it's like you'd have somebody down here that would be able to say, hey, they're missing, and being able to watch them as they rotate. Because if the Varian composition can't get any picks, so it's like you potentially have defeated their entire composition, because they've committed so many resources to this triangle and to these rotations that you should be able to exploit things elsewhere, whether it be grabbing this camp. Oop, that is a terrible drawing. It's like whether it be grabbing this camp early. Goodness gracious. If you can grab this camp early, get off maps. Say it's like they now have to make a decision. Like most people's offlaners cannot clear a bruiser camp by themselves. Or if they can, they're going to lose at least the wall and the well because of how much pressure is being put up here. So if you know where this gank squad is always rotating as 3 or as 4, say it's like you add so much safety to your team to make sure that you're not getting ganked by this composition. So, yeah, I would say that the triangle is important to maintain, and it doesn't have to be the tank. Because if you were to swap out Muradin for a second, and you were to say, hey, like, I drafted the tank I love playing Joe. Okay, Joe is not the best vision tank, mainly because she doesn't have a way outside of flashlight. If she walks into a bad situation, like say Varian and Joe are both controlling vision here, Varian's watching the mid lane as, you've got your buddy standing here in the lane, and Joe's rotating up and is like, okay, I don't see them, I'm going to rotate up to you, teammate. If Joe walks right here into Varian, and Tyrande and friends are waiting, so it's like, Joe's dead. Especially with like a Stukov underneath it, or Tyrande's the other one, never mind. So it's like, but Joe just dies, or takes a significant amount of health and has to go home. So it's like, versus if it's Muradin, a Nubrak, someone that can scout with beetles or has an escape mechanism for as soon as they realize they're in danger, they can get out. Because sure, Joe can pop D, but that's not going to work forever, especially into Varian. Varian can potentially get Shattering Throw, or some good focus fire can get you killed. So we'll have a little bit more on Triangle of Death there, Crush, but does that kind of help, or are you looking for more specifically, like, what exact compositions or things are you trying to see there?
Oh, that's good. That makes sense. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. I'll take the moment right now just to shout out anyone else. Like I said before, I go into kind of drafting tools as well as a few examples that I have, things that you would like to hear tonight, so that way I make sure that some of your questions get answered and feedback is given. All right, no worries. Feel free to jump in, especially if I'm saying something blasphemous. I'm more than happy to correct myself. So some of the things to consider when you're drafting on Dragon Shire, Cav and others have mentioned that wave clear is probably your most important factor in Dragon Shire. If your waves are cleared, that means that the waves themselves are giving vision, but also you now have the opportunity to go do something else. Heroes of the Storm, as funny as it sounds, is about soaking minions and pushing core. And it's like you need those basics to be able to actually complete what you want to do. So having a faster amount of wave clear enables you to do things like control the vision in the Triangle of Death, or maybe go rotate up and kill their offlaner, or start camps early. So there's a lot of things to be looking for when you're drafting, and trying to pick something flexible on Dragon Shire can be huge, just because there are so many different ways to run the map. like I mentioned when I first started, you could pick the same 5 heroes on Dragon Shire and run 4 different compositions. And you may need to fluidly kind of change between those based on unfortunate deaths, camps being taken at times you weren't expecting, points being pressured, maybe the dragon is being channeled middle, and so you're kind of have to force to be poking with 3 people to make sure they don't cap it until your teammate comes back. And so you're effectively switching from maybe that 1-4 composition to like a 1-2-1, just so that way you're not missing soak and also not giving up the dragon for free. So, camping tools, some sort of merking, doesn't have to be a dedicated camper. Obviously, Hogger does everything, but feel free to grab whatever tools to make sure that you are getting your camps. They provide good pressure, and a well timed camp can help your losing lanes or maybe your weaker lanes. Don't forget about globals, especially all point control maps. Being able to quickly zoom around the map can turn that advantage into yours. Obviously, Brightwing is a very popular hero right now, but being able to have your offlaner take a duel on the top point and have Brightwing Z in, heal, and then turn it into a polymorph kill completely ruins anyone's day. Like, offlaners and anchors dying is probably the worst thing that can happen on Dragon Shire, because now your game plan changes. You have to cover. You have to figure out, what are we giving up? Are we going to give up soak? Are we going to give up the siege that they're about to do because now we don't have anybody up there? So there's a lot of decisions to be made, and it's a fun map. I love this. Some of the things to consider: if your offlaner player is very strong and has a plethora of heroes, potentially getting a good counter can be really helpful. It's like if your offlaner loves playing Rexar and Hogger and Diva, so it's like definitely making sure you get what makes sense. But say it's like if they are maybe a shallower pool and they love playing just like only Sonya or Malthiol. So it's like stuff that double soaks but also can be ganked really easily. So it's like you may need to be aware in trying to help their lane a little bit as far as soaker vision. Other things that are strong to consider are heroes that are independent. People that can do stuff by themselves is actually really strong, whether it be in wave clear, murking, vision. I know that Oxygen and several others have what they were calling everyone has an escape game on Dragon Shire. It was like they drafted Zeratul, Muradin, Sylvanas, Phoenix, and I think it was like Rexar. So it's like, but everyone on their team had essentially an escape tool or a blink or something, and it honestly makes it really hard to pin them down, but it also means that they can get to anything in a split second's notice. So being able to draft in something that can help you with your overall win condition. So, before I go into any other basics, does anyone have any comments or quick questions?
Yeah. With the current patch that we're on and just the offlaners that people are tending to play, do you feel like the counter picking is a little bit less of a factor on Dragonshire since it's just like Sonya and Hogger and Diva, and everyone's just kind of picking those really early in the draft to make sure they get one of them? Or do you feel like there's still room to have counter picks for heroes that are so high priority?
I think that, to your point, like Hogger, Sonya, and Diva honestly just do too much too well, and they are punishable. So it's like, and that's one of those things that potentially you need to be looking for as like a team of like, what do you want to do going into this map? Like, if you were to play against my team, say it's like this season in NGS, our offlaner has like a stupid 90% win rate on Sonya, and so Sonya keeps getting banned. Well, on Dragonshire, it's like, I don't know if I would actually ban Sonya. Say it's like, it just depends on what your team wants to do, because Sonya is gankable. So it's like, when Sonya's not in lane, Sonya might be on a camp. Sonya can't necessarily rotate safely to double soak compared to some of your other offlaners, because Sonya will be face checking all the bushes. So it just depends on what you want your team to do or how you want to do things. Like, I think if you were to run maybe a more of like a 1-3-1, you might be able to grab a pick oriented 3 that has high wave clear, high burst. So if you were to run like a Nubarak, Malfurion, and I don't know, some burst hero, Tychus. So it's like you could probably out of vision get a stun, get a sleepy root, and that's a dead Sonya. So I'd say I'm like, so I definitely think that there's some room for counterplay still, but I think you're right. Unfortunately, with how strong these heroes are in the meta, like they don't die easy, so they can definitely be all over the place. So,
Okay, so it's less. There's less opportunities to counter in a 1v1, but you can affect your style
mm-hmm,
to affect that matchup.
correct. Because
Okay.
like one thing that people are doing right now, like say they pick Hogger. So Hogger's really strong on the map in general. Hogger's strong everywhere. And one of the low key, quote unquote, counters to Hogger is actually E build Leoric. And so it's the whole idea is that if you're reducing Hogger's damage and you're also able to like kind of stick on him, because like if you land your spooky hand on him, say it's like he can spin back and forth all day. Say it's like you're still getting the damage, but also with spooky walk, you're able to not take damage on your body, but reduce his damage and his team's damage. And so you're able to effectively negate some of his strengths of team fighting. But once again, like Hogger versus Leoric, well, what Leoric's gonna need help, right? Like Leoric is not gonna win that lane by himself. So if you're building for that, we'll call it if you're building it for a team fight based composition for Dragon Shire instead of a point based Dragon Shire, so it's like you may tell your Leoric, hey, I want you to double soak and control vision, or it's like, or I want a Malthael that can safely rotate back and forth. And so, it can be done to where you don't have Hogger and Leo just sitting there smacking each other. But like I said, it all depends on kind of what you want to do and what you're hoping your tools accomplish. So, yeah. Anyone else? Anything real quick before I said some of these slides are real basic, and then I want to get to some of the ones at the end that are specifically, um, I'll say, composition dependent or maybe some strategy dependent things. So, okay. No worries. Feel free to jump in. A common question: who should actually get in the dragon? Um, is not really a hard fast rule. I think one of the things you need to watch out for is trying not to put is as unless there's no way you cap it because unless somebody's middle. Say it's like I would say you probably don't want to put your tank or your support or whatever your effective peels is for the team because sometimes your tank isn't really your peels, but I wouldn't put one of those two in the dragon. So it's like as strong as the dragon is, once the kick has been used, they can engage on your team, and you can't really do a lot inside the dragon to peel outside of that one kick. There was a game that we played recently. I think it was versus TRSG, where they had taken May and Falstad, and I was Muradin as the only real peels on our team. Sonya was sieging walls because that's what Sonya does, and so we ended up putting, I think it was either Kel'Thas or some other mage in the dragon, and then we had Tychus that could siege from range. And so the whole intent of that dragon as we're pushing, oh, I can show you on Mad Buddha tools. Why am I just trying to help you guys visually do this? So so this is already dead. So we're trying to siege here, and the enemy team, like I said, had a May and a Falstad, and so I don't think May's in there because Mad Buddha Tools doesn't have all the new heroes, but that's okay. So we're gonna pretend that May is my Ev. So, and then I'm not gonna try and draw a dragon. There you go. That's the dragon. So as the dragon is like sieging on these buildings here, say it's like we had our healer Stukov sitting and positioning on this side, and we had Sonya sieging on this tower here. And the only thing on their win condition to stop us when we were looking at this was where's May? Because May can ice wall and they can force and engage. And the other question was where's Falstad? And so as we're sitting here sieging, so it's like I ended up just sitting here anchoring for probably about 30 seconds, just waiting for where's Falstad. They were trying to get soaked, trying to catch up on 16s. Falstad had been seen middle, and so we were like, okay, maybe he might try and get a gust flank. And then sure enough, Falstad finally showed up, So it's like, and we were able to connect the first stun, and then Falstead saw one player coming over. I forget who it was, but immediately gusted. And as soon as that was used, we were said, okay, now we can go in. Now we can push for this building. Like, yes, we were sieging it, but like people weren't positioned on the wall, because that's all we would need is if Falstead was able to get that gust onto our team into this corner. So it's like that's a wombo combo waiting to happen, especially into a wall like that. And that play honestly wouldn't have happened if Muradin had been in the dragon. Just because if Muradin's in the dragon, there's no way that you guys can safely anchor here without knowing what they're doing or having someone get 1v1'd or having False that just barrel roll over whoever's there and making the gust play anyway. So just trying to be aware or conscious of essentially who you want to be in the dragon. I know sometimes it's a panic and we're just like, holy crap, someone get it. All the things are channeled. But even in that idea of holy crap, someone get it, be communicating and talking about, who do we want to get it? Who from our, 4-man? Who from our 3-man? Who do we want to actually be in the dragon so that we can effectively siege with it as well? If you, it tends to be, a bruiser, a DPS, but if you have a choice, say it's like that might be something that you guys can think about, either loading into the game or as you're about to pick it up. It's like if you're sitting there saying, hey, who should take dragon? And you have Sonya, you have Tychus, and you have Orphea on your team, and it's like one of you three needs to get in the dragon now. Who would you put into the dragon of those three?
Probably Orphea.
Yeah, agreed.
Mm-hmm. I 100%. Because, like, Sonya, Wrath or not, can siege like crazy, and Tychus can go Odin, and Odin sieges like crazy. So now you are amplifying the amount of siege and kill pressure with your dragon and stuff. And as cool as Orphea is to be able to Jaws or Feast or whatever, it's like you're not looking for that team fight right now. And Orphea's siege is garbage. So it's like she's got good wave clear, but she's not going to be able to sustain to keep throwing stuff at it. So yeah, I would agree. Between those three, I would say Orphea, like as we're loading in, Orphea, you're taking dragon when possible. And sometimes it's not. And that's okay. Like, because a lot of the time, the early dragons are not going to be able to get, like, a full keep. Or, sorry, a full fort. So it's like, a lot of times, some of the early dragons, if you happen to get one from good rotations or whatever it may be, you're looking for chip damage. And you're looking to do some good damage in the middle to just kind of open up the map, whether it be remove the wall, remove the well. But you're mainly looking to open up that bottom lane and get your win condition going. So. Yeah, I kind of talked about this briefly earlier about how wave clear is key to Dragon Shire because you can't rotate, you can't go do other things if you're stuck clearing waves. So, anytime your wave is cleared, there is this dead time where you can potentially be off the map to go do other things. So, for example, if you were to take. So, the first wave clashes here at 22 seconds. And so once the first wave's cleared, if you were to, we'll just keep using Jaina because I saw Jaina recently. If you just instantly wave clear the wave as Jaina, say it's like the next wave spawns here at 25 seconds. So Jaina's Blizzard is, I think, 10 seconds. So Jaina can run down here and Blizzard this wave again. And then she can run back up here because the next wave doesn't spawn till 52. So she can pretty much run back and forth and Blizzard the wave all day. So it's like, but that's Jaina's full-time job right now would be wave clear. So it's like, and her using all of her abilities. But if you supplement that and add Joe or just even some sustained damage, or if you want to really go all in on wave clear, you could throw in even like Kerrigan or something. Like, say I'm like, you can, oops, that's the wrong color team, whatever. So I'm like, but you can go all in on wave clear to where your team is rotating back and forth and you have about 10 seconds of free time to make a decision. You can say, hey, we just, we cleared top, cleared middle. So it's like, and then we cleared middle, cleared bottom, and we just cleared here. It's about almost 1 minute. And at that point, your team can make a decision. Hopefully you make the decision before this 1 minute mark, but you can choose, hey guys, do we want hard camp? Hey guys, do we want the easy camp? hey, our offlaner sucks before 4. Do we want to go gank top? Like, all of those decisions and things can't really happen if you're still in one of these lanes trying to catch waves and catch soak. So being able to find a way to get waves effectively cleared and efficiently cleared creates more options for you on this map. So, reset lines. So, yeah, wave clear is king on this map. So, oh, I lost my spot. Okay, cool. So, kind of jumping in to some of the common compositions and answering some of the questions from Kryn earlier. Kryn asked, oh, before I get there, sorry. Does anyone have anything else before I jump into just generic compositions and some typical examples? And then I said I got a couple questions from Kryn I promised I would answer. But all right, no worries. Okay, so Kryn's first question, he said, was D-Shire has 3 objective points and each team has 5 players. What is the optimal setup when trying to attack and defend objectives? So it's kind of a trick question because there's no real like true optimal. Like even if you look at professional play, say like nobody plays the map exactly the same. If you one of the maps or one of the master league matches I'm going to link at the end of this. If you've never seen it, it is probably the best or one of the best executed Dragon Shires I've ever seen. And they end up running a composition that I guess today would be called a 1-1-1-2, where they essentially have one laner in each lane that is going to be catching soak, adding vision, and potentially supporting whatever the team wants to do. And they have 2 people that are actively roaming. And so the compositions actually, I think they did Phoenix, Hanzo, Malthiel, and then they had Anubarak and Tyrande. And so Tyrande was picked a lot more back in the pro days in 2018 because she was overpowered. Tyrande can still be picked today, just potentially you might want to replace Tyrande with, I don't know, Malfurion or something. But it depends on what you're looking for. But what they effectively did is they actually had all the soak was covered in every lane. Like Hanzo anchors bottom and essentially should never be ganked or should never die bottom because he has the escape mechanism. He has vision arrows, so he can control anything that's here. He can shoot W's down into this corridor and get vision as well as damage, and he has pretty decent wave clear after 4. So Hanzo himself can hold the lane. Phoenix, in the same way, can trade really well with anyone that tries to 1v1 him. He's got built-in shields. He has an escape mechanism. He doesn't touch the ground, so Falk hates this guy. And then top has Malthiel. Malthiel is kind of your traditional 1v1 offlaner up there. He happened to be playing into a Yarel, so it's one of those things that, it's not maybe a favorable matchup, but it's still good damage and gives good chase. And what they end up doing is they just have a 2-man roam squad. These guys here just go do whatever they want the whole game. It's like if the amount of stuns and minus armor and kill pressure, it doesn't matter where you are. It's like they're able to potentially rotate around and make picks happen. Or they can, hey, the wave's cleared mid. Okay, let's quickly do this camp, Phoenix and friends. Or hey, we need this camp taken out. Phoenix Tyrande, go do this or go do this while I cover soak as Anubarak. Or hey, Hanzo, we need you to do this camp. So it's like, Phoenix go cover, and so they kind of like rotate down, rotate over, rotate down, and like they just have all of these people that can efficiently cover and do all of the jobs to make sure that soak's not being missed, and to allow these 2 to go do something effective. So like as far as optimal Kryn, I don't really have an answer for you. There's so many different lane variations and matchups, but I feel like that's what makes this map fun. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I read his question wrong. Because he said specifically when trying to attack and defend the objective. Maybe he means point control? Oh, Kryn. Okay, I'll get back to the tug of war of point control, I guess, in a sec. Anyone else? Questions, observations, something you'd like to talk about real quick before I jump into some of the other typical laning arrangements and what they're looking to do? So besides the I don't have this perfected in any way, shape, or form. Like I said, I'll have a video at the end that we can look at and watch if we have time, or I could just leave you the Master League game file so you can look it up. But I was going to talk about 1.4, 1.3.1, and 1.1.1.2. But anyone got any other questions or observations? All right. So, kind of jumping back real quick. When people talk about playing Dragon Shire, they usually see a 4-1. And so, like, obviously, this composition just sustains on an offlaner, and then your tank, healer, wave clear, and camper run around as a clump. And their goal is to do a lot of work as 4. And so, being together as 4, there's safety in numbers. So, if you happen to rotate into somebody in the bush, you've got all 4 of your players there ready to fight. So it's like if you are together as 4, you can do any of the camps in a split second. If you're together as 4, you are most definitely going to be able to catch all of the soak because you're all throwing your abilities at the same time. The downside to this particular composition, if you're always running around as 4, that means that you're very always predictably doing the same thing. So in that Jaina example that I was kind of showing earlier, if Jaina's your wave clear in your 4-man, say it's like as soon as you see Jaina, you know that the rest of the team is right there or lagging right behind them because Jaina can't afford to be by herself too long because she's too easy to gank and does not have any real ways to sustain or trade. And so if you constantly are seeing, hey, there's Jaina, say it's like you know where the 4-man's going or you know where they're rotating. And so despite that this is actually still a very strong composition, nothing necessarily wrong with a 4-1. Like, I think in the last 2 times I've played Dragon Shire, the teams that we played against ran 4-1s. One was super aggressive and had it was Uther, Tyrande, um, Imperious, and some sort of sustained damage. I don't know, maybe Raynor. But like, they pretty much were like, if we hit 1 stun, you die. And it's like, and they very clearly like walked around as a 4-man. And anytime I saw them on Muradin, it was just run, 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 run. We don't even want to be here. And it's like, and eventually, it's like they got picks, and it helped them win dragons. But one of the things that slowly ended up being their downfall was that since they continued to clump and continue to do stuff, we could push things top. Like we would get an advantage somewhere on the map, and they're like, okay, we're gonna go rotate now to go do something. And so they send all 5 players top to try and kill Deathwing, but Deathwing doesn't care about your stuns and just waddles away or Z's out. And so it's one of those things where if you see that this is being drafted, you can potentially put counters or give yourself tools to not lose to their win condition. Because that 4-1 composition is going to snowball real hard, especially if they're able to get 2 or 3 picks while they're roaming around. And not all 4-1s have to be pick comps per se. So it's like you can just 4-1 with just very standard heroes. You could 4-1 with, ETC, Greymane, Vala, and I don't know, Malfurion, right? Like, sure, there's burst in there, sure, there's sieging in there. So it's like, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's a pick comp. But definitely, if you happen to be on the wrong side of the triangle of death or whatever it may be, you do have the potential of being slid, then slept, then killed. So, yeah, that's kind of the goal of the 4-1 is that a lot of the time they very predictably do everything together. And like I said, it doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong, just it has holes. And so introduced then would be the 1-3-1 composition. And so kind of in this method, they have what people are nowadays calling an anchor. I've heard people even call it like a goaltender or a goalkeeper, an off lane, and then specifically a tank, a healer, and a wave clear or a wave clear / murking hero. Obviously, these things can be kind of interchanged. Like, you don't necessarily have to have all of your wave clear on your DPS, and maybe you bring Rhaegar, and Rhaegar's part of your wave clear, or maybe you brought Blaze, and Blaze is part of your wave clear, or whatever, or you have Joe. But just the idea with this is that in a 1-3-1, let's go back to the tools, I guess. We're just going to pretend, because this can also be a 1-3-1. It doesn't have to be a 1-1-2. In a 1-3-1, you're hoping to never lose the point. You pretty much have enough visibility and vision in this bottom anchor that this bottom anchor should never die. Whether it be like Hanzo, Chromie, Junkrat, Lunara, Zagara, people that have lots of vision to make sure that lots of vision and lots of wave clear, and hopefully an escape tool. Make it to where you don't actually have to fight the 4-man. Like, if you're specifically fighting a 4-1, say it's like this 4-man is going to be down here trying to siege, and if you have Junkrat or Chromie, or even Hanzo after 4, like, they can wave clear this safely behind their towers, and you shouldn't get sieged on too hard. And as soon as you see 4 people down here, say it's like the 3-man that doesn't necessarily have a lane that's assigned or tied to them, they can rotate down and support. They can rotate up and gank the offlaner. They can split off and invade a camp up here. They can do their own camp. It gives you a lot more flexibility, because the goal being that this lane is soaked and safe. But I will say that a 1-3-1 does fall apart and becomes very, very hard to play if this anchor ever dies. Because if the anchor dies, it's no different than if the offlaner was to die. So now there's potentially a camp or siege. Something's happening up here that we are now losing, and there's nothing we can do without breaking up our 4-man. So if our 4-man is down here, sitting here trying to siege into Hanzo or siege into Chromie, and the offlaner up here dies, it's like they have to make a choice. They're like, are we really actually sieging and getting value down here? Because if we're not, we're going to lose at least 2 waves of experience up here, because no one's here to catch it. And we're going to start losing the wall and potentially the well, because now there's 4 people up here sieging into our building. And sure, top lane isn't necessarily the most valuable lane on this map, because it only has the 1 merc camp that can go into it. But like, if you continue to put pressure up here in this top lane, so it's like people will not be able to now get to this point or fight this point safely. They won't have a well, so the 1v1 that's been up here, like, will continue to happen. Someone still has to soak this lane. Someone still has to get this point. But now the 1v1 up here has their well, has their wall. So it's like, this one will not. And so if there's any hint that you see the little percentage bar on this point is starting to change hands, so it's like the roaming 1-3-1 can immediately come on up, and there's nowhere for this person to go. And you just continue to get farms and kills, and despite that this isn't necessarily the win condition lane for a lot of people, like, you get tons of free soak XP, and the camp does do damage. This camp can win the game. Just the goal hopefully would be, if you're doing a 1-3-1 like this, that you make dragon plays. So as soon as you get that kill here top and you now secure this, all 5 people can now rotate down if needed and make sure that you win the team fight here and secure the dragon. So that's kind of the idea of a 1-3-1, is creating enough space to where this wave is cleared, and kind of like we talked about at the very beginning on the camp timers, there's 22 seconds is the first one and 52 seconds is the next one. So if your 3-man quickly clears this camp in, let's say, 10 seconds, say it's like you now have 10 to 15 seconds to go do anything you want. And that can be very dangerous, because if both teams quickly clear this lane, right, and the 4-man starts rotating down, right, the Hanzo or whoever your anchor is already here, clearing the wave safely. And the 3-man decides, we're going to sit right here in this bush, and we're going to wait for one of you guys to go to that camp. And so all of a sudden, little Jimmy walks over to the camp, and he gets blown up. and because it's like they're still trying to catch up for everything. This team now has rotational advantage and priority and potentially control of this triangle, or like I said, your offlaner has a bad matchup. Like Malthael doesn't really gank people by himself. Like you could easily just send Tyrande and Ubarak, and this is a kill, just the three of them together. So the goal of this one would be rotations and flexibility. So that is a common um, running as far as compositions or drafts. And then the last one is a 1-1-1-2. And I truly like I've I said I've this is the best I've ever seen it done. Is here. I'll make it blown up a little bit bigger. So I'll copy this link and post it right now in the dev day chat. So but this is I said for me I have not seen anyone accomplish a 1-1-1-2 as successfully as Genji did, and you can see I put the heroes that they did for the example I was doing on there. It's like they essentially were able to flank anywhere from any bush they wanted to with the long range of an Ubrak's dig and the long range of Tyranda's stun to ensure a kill or a pickoff or wherever they wanted to go. And Nubrak does a great job of holding vision. And this team here, when you try and walk into the bush, sure, Garrosh is a really scary threat in the bush, especially with a Malfurion backing him up. But if Nubrak sees Gary walking into the bush, Nubrak can say, "Peace, I'm out," and just digs away. Like, as soon as he's out, there's no more threat. And now we know where they are. We know where their potential 3-man or 4-man rotation's at. And our team can play safe. And if you've got Phoenix anchoring middle and you've got Hanzo anchoring bottom, all the waves are soaked, and everything can be essentially adjusted and picked from there. So I said, it's definitely a fun game to watch if you've never seen it before, as well as it inspires me to think about Dragon Shire and like how much more fun the map can be when you get to execute fun little things or strategies like this, or poke holes in potentially their defenses. Like, if you were to tell me, oh yeah, our game plan is to gank Wubby all game because like he's gonna be on an island by himself, so it's like I would have been, yeah, you're crazy. So, because I don't think Wubby will ever die, but he dies, just because the CC train is too much. Um, so it's definitely an enjoyable game, and it can be really beneficial for you and your team to kind of figure out what exactly does Dragon Shire look like for us. And kind of as we're approaching the end of time, like I said, I'll definitely field a few more questions and see what I can do. But hopefully, through what we've talked about, as well as some of the questions that were answered, it can also inspire you to not ban out Dragon Shire every time you see it in Nexus Gaming Series or Heroes Lounge or whatever, but you can actually look forward and having fun on a very dynamic map. So, but yeah, I'll take any other questions or things that didn't get answered. I think I took care of all of Crin's since he said he couldn't make it. And then Valk asked me something about the worthlessness of top lane. Why is the top lane so often forfeit on Dragon Shire? Yeah, we kind of talked about that. So, but anyone else? Questions, observations, something else you'd like? All right. No worries. Thank you guys. Like I said, I do not claim to be a pro. I definitely, again, like my front slide said, shout out to all of the wonderful resources that I stole from Nexus Schoolhouse, Not Paradox, and several other amazing content creators and coaches. I am a pleb diamond player. I do not expect to know the meta, know everything, but this is a fun map, and hopefully you will be able to enjoy it more so as well. So, I said I'll hang around for about another 5-10 minutes if you guys have either comp questions or anything else you'd like to talk about. But that's really it for Dragon Shire.
My only question is, did you record this so I can watch it later? Because I missed it, but...
No worries. Yes, I did.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time. I'm gonna go eat dinner.
Go for it. Have fun. Thank you.
Yeah, have a good night.